My apologies and a very good afternoon to all my fellow panelists, and thank you for the introductions, Nikita. A very hatke introduction, I must say. I never started a panel on that note. But yes, coming to the question that you posed, if you would ask me what is the level of IT/OT convergence when it comes to pharma, I would say it's not to the level that I would expect it to be yet. Right, a lot of other industries, especially manufacturing and some of the others, have possibly adopted it a little more, and it is largely to do with the nature of the industry also, because a lot of compliance, it is someone's health at stake that we are talking about here, the product that gets developed, right? So the fear is always inherent to say that if you decentralize by adopting technology such as AI and ML, and if something were to go wrong, the disaster could be manifold. So possibly that's where I think the industry is possibly looking at a bit more of maturity and predictability to come in before it can be adopted at scale. Having said that, definitely the move is there. And as we saw in the previous session also, there are a number of other aspects, if not completely manufacturing, but at least around, say, for example, the drug discovery process and the aspects of simulations which are there, where a lot of digital twin kind of initiatives are coming to the fore, where there are digital replicas being created of the physical world, and simulations are happening. And even, for example, what is going to be the efficacy of the product, the entire clinical trial kind of space. That's where also again a lot of IT/OT convergence is happening. So right now it is not to the extent of predictability that one would like, but when it comes to, for example, governing the shop floor operations better by using real-time data from, say, from sensors or vibrations and temperatures and things like those. I think that's definitely picking up, and a lot of investments are going towards those aspects of Industry 4.0. So if you talk about Industry 4.0, the key, it is about transparency, availability of information, decentralization, and observability. This is what you're talking about. So the decentralization part is yet to pick up. The others are definitely picking up. That's my point of view on this.
Fantastic answer, Mr. Dhaval. Mr. Dhaval, I'm sure you agree with us as well, right? Maturity and responsibility come hand in hand with compliance, as there's a very popular saying, with power comes responsibility.
Absolutely.
What would you say is the importance of compliance automation in the pharma industry?
Yeah, so compliance is at the heart of the pharmaceutical industry, right? When it comes to it, because that's the one watchdog that keeps possibly the wrongdoings from happening. So to what aspects of compliance can actually be automated? So for example, if you talk about the IT space, and there is this entire arena of CSV, right, which has to happen when you come to the GXP processes, or when you come to the GXP kind of systems. And if those were to possibly get touched, then you have to redo the whole thing, and it is a lot of effort and a lot of quality time that gets invested into it. So definitely those are the aspects which can definitely be looked at when it comes to compliance, which are possibly the low hanging fruits for the automation through maybe predictability models, or for example through certain self-governing systems, certain deep code analysis kind of softwares that can run on top of it. So those aspects can definitely be looked at. But when it comes to, for example, regulatory aspects and FDA aspects, that's where I think we'll have to do a bit of soft pedaling and possibly take some more time before we can, leave it to the likes of automation to take it ahead.
Soft pedaling, what a fantastic term. I think that is the takeaway. At least for me, that's a very new term that I've heard. And I'm definitely, along with our audience members, going to, Google that for sure. What a fantastic answer. Thank you so very much, Mr. Dhaval. Moving on to a leader who will fight technology with technology. All right, Mrs. Annie. So, with the increased convergence of IT/OT and huge volumes of data that is being produced as well as processed, right? Quantity doesn't always mean quality. So, how can one effectively use this data to benefit the business?
Well, I think when we talk about IT/OT integration, by and large, as Dhaval said, that industry is moving in that direction. I think we'll still have to see another couple of years before we have full-fledged scale when the multiple GBs of data might start flowing into the data centers or the cloud. But yeah, it's very important to understand the data quality concept right here. very, very clearly. And second is, what is it that's going to make sense to the business? I think few things that will evolve over a period of time would be integrated KPIs across functions. I think until now, we definitely had a way to track the KPIs or business KPIs, but if you have to look at the integrated KPIs across various functions within the organization, is something which was not very well defined, though they were known at a much higher level. But when it comes to the data did not speak much about it because the data was not probably available at the same place, right? So there are things that will evolve. I think in next couple of years we will see use cases beyond normal this is streaming analytics or maybe data analytics on a use case basis, but also integrated use cases that we will see. So that's one thing. Now we have to also look at that these new data setup that we have do not end up becoming data swamps, right? So that's another very, very important aspect of looking at what kind of data we're going to have, what kind of data we're going to store and process through these systems. We have to figure out a way, a data hierarchy and a data strategy, so that this can be taken care of. So I think the time another couple of years we'll see the new use cases or new ways of using data in the industry.
Penny, I mean, what a revolutionary point, right? Till now, nobody in the industry has ever looked at data and said, you know what, there's got to be set KPIs for the data as well. And fantastic answer. And just extrapolating on that point and moving on to our next speaker, Mr. Ashish, my question to you is, you are this experienced leader that you are, right? But what's the funniest KPI which makes you go, why?
I lost your voice, Nikita, in between. Can you repeat it?
Yes, absolutely. So Mr. Saini spoke in depth about, and the kicker for his answer was KPI. So you being this experienced industry leader and a veteran that you are, what is the funniest KPI which always makes you go, why?
That's a very tough question. I won't say the funniest KPI. I will rather put it that with the same data, different functions are looking at the same KPI but in a different manner. So that's become actually funny because the way they are deriving it, the way they are calculating it, it's just like that. All of a sudden, a nation is calculating GDP in different ways. Wow. So that happens, and that is where I think I pretty much echo Naren's point that the KPI should be joint. What is happening that some data is owned by a function X and then some data is owned by Y. They both need to see their data together, but they are not seeing it in togetherness. So that becomes actually funny that we are speaking different languages using the same data. And I think that is a perennial challenge which we all are seeing and observing every day, right?
Different languages using data. Beautiful answer, Mr. Ashish. It is just like somebody looking at others looking at it as 9, whereas it should be just one number, either 6 or 9. Fantastic answer, Mr. Pandey. So we would ask you, right, of RPA and where do you see its main use? So that's the very first, sub question for our question. Please continue, and then I'd ask you the second sub question.
So interestingly, now we are seeing lots and lots of RPA, right? Lots and lots of RPA, and it is primarily sitting in the vast kind of systems like ERP. If I speak about use cases across industry, it is mostly in ERP. And especially in pharma industry. But then there are so many wonderful use cases. Again, the challenging aspect is always that what kind of costs are associated with it. Because if we want to do a clever RPA, it needs a right kind of investment. If I want to do the real RPA around chatbots, then I will be spending a lot of time on NLP. And to correct those algorithms, it takes considerable effort and time. So what I see that in that area where patient care is involved, we are seeing that why don't you buy a robotic friend for your kid? I see that is going to happen a lot for our patients, people in healthcare industry. That is where I see that these RPA programs will be evolving. Second, I think one of our panelists, Dhruvendu, right? Dhruv, sorry, I'm missing the name. He covered it. It's around Dhaval. Sorry, Dhaval. It is around the clinical development. We will be seeing much better growth, a much better pace in that area as well. And of course, in the area of reporting, in that area of analysis, those all are pretty much covered. The third and the most important segment, which I think we all are using in some way or other ways, how I can make my sales reps effective, much more effective. How can I save their time? So those are pretty much areas where I see that it is going to evolve a lot. But again, as I said, that it's related to cost.
Fantastic answer, Mr. Ashish, and I see that you've already touched upon our second question. The second question would be, how much more potential does it have in the Indian pharma sector? I see that you're a big patron of it, so please continue.
In the area of, come again?
In the area of Indian pharma sector.
What I see that in terms of basics, it is already there. In terms of ERP, in terms of Salesforce automation, there is a significant amount of RPA involvement. In terms of mundane processes, where I am speaking about PR to PO cycle, order to cash cycle, those are all the area where RPA is already there. It is existing. It is covering it. What I see that RPA can get much better involved if the users themselves know how to use it, and it becomes very easy to use for them. So be it pharma industry or other industry as well, we have to make that technology very simple to use by people. That means that when I'm going to do RPA, I'm going to focus that if 100 people are going to use it or not. But I'm not going to make it for one people. And the way world is shifting, we are right now trying to send you adverts to your liking, what you are liking on Facebook, or even what you're talking on phone with people, right? I'm thinking of going to Goa, and your email box is getting an email that planning for Goa. These are the vouchers, right? This is what I see in RPA as well, that people should be able to self-service them. If that is happening, we are going to see a lot of advent. But as of now, mostly we are focusing on these principal areas. I will be very observant that how we are going to leverage RPA in the area of marketing. And when I'm saying marketing, the overall aspect of marketing tech, be it my GRPs, which I am doing with media agencies, or be it with my digital marketing, where I'm targeting an individuals. So that makes sense.
Just to add on.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. In fact, Nikita, just to add on, in fact, we've seen that even in the areas of R&D and manufacturing, RPAs can be utilized. We are looking at some of those possibilities. So I think those are the areas that are less explored by robotic process automation in general. But I think there are possibilities that do exist. So that is some area that we can probably see in next few years evolving, pretty much and maturing over there.
Okay. Narendra, what I see that if we have an AI ML enabled RPA, now I'm not just saying about a routine mundane RPA, an intelligent RPA. If we speak about that, then we will be seeing clinical product development much faster, because we'll be seeing the right kind of outcomes which are expected, and basically it is going to work as a simulation factory for me.
Yeah.
So there is
you got it right. Yes.
So there is a breed of bots which I'm sure you're completely aware of, Narendra and Ashish, which talks not about programmable bots, but it talks about intelligent bots. So it is actually investing into the intelligent automation part of it.
That's exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah, where it uses a data fabric and then tries to do the predictability. So that's where I think a lot of formulation efficacy, formulation success, and clinical trial kind of areas are also getting addressed. Interestingly, just wanted to make this point here.
No, and you are absolutely right, and kind of what disheartens me that I see a lot of stuff happening in Europe and Americas. It is still has to shift to APAC region. I'm not speaking just about India. It still has to shift to APAC region, and if that starts happening, then we'll be seeing some clever outcomes.
Really, back to you, Nikita.
Mr. Ashish, I think with leaders like you, Mr. Saini and Mr. Dhawan, right, that distant dream is not so distant, and I absolutely love our panelists when they make my job easier. They let they do the talking, they put in the valuable inputs. That is absolutely fantastic. So, Mr. Saini, Mr. Ashish is all for digitalization, and just like Mr. Pandya, right, all for digitalization, hardcore tech. My question to you is, with digitalization wave that is taking over so many sectors and all eyes being on Indian pharma sector, what is the scope and challenges when it comes to technology manufacturing like blockchain and AR, VR technologies?
Well, I don't really see that it's something which has not been utilized. So pharma industry by and large, I think is already utilizing blockchain, IoT, AI, ML, whatnot. You talk about the technology, I think one way or the other, you've already started experimenting, and in some cases we have already started seeing results. So be it any technology, you can say that pharma companies I think in last 1.5 year have shown the leadership of adopting and accepting new technology trends, which was not the case probably 2 years before.
Absolutely. Fantastic answer, Mr. Saini. And our next question goes to Mr. Ashish. Mr. Ashish, let me just tell you, I was marketing and I was hosting the previous session by Exito, which was manufacturing, IT, technology, right? And the one thing that they kept raving about was digital twin. And so I'm just hinting on the same question to you, the potential of digital twins in the pharma sector. We've already heard much more in manufacturing. So is it still in infancy stage, or do you see it full-fledged?
This is a very tough question to answer, to be honest. When I
came all the tough questions, but that's
when I came across it, it actually asked me to get into thinking mode. What I still see that if we speak about digital twins, I think we all are pretty much aware that it is the replica of whatever is existing. And we have basically classified it for pharma industry that these are the digital twins, and we are going to replicate everything. It can be the production building, it can be process, or it can be a product itself, or even I'm going to make replicas of people who are going to experience my product, right? So that I can understand them. And there is an interesting analogy that is started with NASA. They wanted to see that how things are happening. They basically created 2 Apollo rockets, and they wanted to see what actually is happening in space and how they can replicate it in their area, and what are the impacts. The cost element is very sharp here. When you are, first of all, if I speak about any machines where you want to do digital twin kind of thing, for a single individual machine, if that machine is used all across, let's say India, and the organization itself is doing it, they are creating those digital twins, they are giving you help around it, then I see the easy rollout part. So if someone is coming to me and the person says that I do have this capabilities, I will be very happy to take it. I'm not going to do it for single machine. I'm not going to do it for a customized shop floor only. Because what I see that as of now, the cost to serve is very, very high. It needs lots and lots of data. It needs lots and lots of simulation. We need to understand if we have the right kind of appetite and tenacity to do that. When you are getting into these kind of journeys, you cannot carve out a vision of 6 months or a year. You have to have that buy-in from your leadership that this is something which I'm planning to do. It is going to fail for 2 years. After that, I'm going to tell you results. So if they are supposed to, people are going to support it, then only you can move forward in this area. So this is how I see right now. The good part in last 1.5 or 2 years is that pharma industry is seeing phenomenal growth. The numbers they have achieved, these are phenomenal numbers, and we haven't witnessed those numbers so far. So I see more investment coming in. So I see the inroads are there. It is going to be much easier. But again, you have to convince your leadership not to look for short term, but for the long term gains.
Mr. Pandey, failing for 2 years and results maybe after that. Wow, I think a very, very dependent, a very mature set of leaders and bosses for that to happen. And we absolutely love that NASA point of yours, right? Me as
But Nikita, just to add on digital twin, in fact, if you have to see in the industries, other than pharma, some of the advanced industries that we are talking about in discrete or automotive for that matter, digital twin have been utilized and used, in a big way. I've seen in aerospace and automotive industries where process simulation has been there for a very long time. It's a visual twin that we are talking about as these days, which is getting more popularity. It's like visual plus process twins, which basically now that we call as complete digital twin. And I think more visibility is coming up when we have live streaming of sensor data also coming to the twin, right? So that's where I think if you have to really see a drop parallel from other industries, they have been benefited. So if you have to see from industry point of view also, I understand the point from where Ashish is coming in. We need to also convince our leadership, but there is definite improvement, KPI improvements that we can see via digital twin. But yeah, I think we need to go through that path as a pharma industry itself. Yeah.
But then I was speaking typically from the standpoint of Indian pharma industry. If I speak about global pharma and all across, I think I know that it is happening. Of course, I completely
Yes.
agree with you. And
Yes.
but I'm a mechanical engineer, so I have worked in a lot of those finite element methods and simulations.
Yeah.
And by chance into this industry.
Mr. Pandey, I strongly believe, I think it takes an engineer to excel anywhere, right? They can excel anywhere. That whatever you do, that will be gold.
Nikita, right now, again, I'm going to make a difficult statement. I have stopped believing in expertise like education, credentials, and all. There are kids of 25 years old. They can challenge any of us in technology, and they might be earning loads and loads better than us. They must be already like unicorn. So I think that thing has already stopped. That thing is evaporated long.
Wow, I think this conversation from just deviating to Indian education is fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, that's exactly how we do it at Exito. Ask for something and you get that and more. Fantastic answers, gentlemen. So, as much as I'd love for this segment to continue, and we have to unfortunately end it. That is absolutely bad. But a closing note on adopting technology and leading change as IT leaders to propel Indian farming global potential. Start with one leader each, Mr. Dhaval Pandey.
So, like I said, I think I firmly believe we are only scratching the surface here as far as this industry is concerned, and there is loads and loads to adopt, and also not to forget that even the technologies to be adopted that we are talking about here are also not fully mature. They are still in their nascent stage. So, for example, AI and ML, a lot needs to be done to perfect these technologies. For example, how do you eliminate bias? Right? That was the question that AI and ML data scientists are grappling to answer with. So I think the potential is huge. What it will need is to be able to identify the right use cases and to identify the right ROI that you see in making a particular investment. I think that is going to be the tipping point when it comes to this particular industry.
Fantastic answer, Mr. Dhaval. Moving on to Mr. Narendra Sen.
Well, I agree with what Dhaval said, and we have an example of industry which is already used technologies to a much larger extent. We've already seen the West using most of these technologies, and we are just touching the surface. But I believe another couple of years are going to be very important for pharma industry's turnaround in general in India and also APAC. And we are on that journey. I think overall, by and large, we are on that journey where we are looking at this this complete turnaround from pharma being a compliance heavy, slightly largely paper based industry to maybe more maybe a leading digital industry probably in another 3 years to come. So that's the path that we already started traversing through. So I believe that's the future that holds for us.
Fantastic answer, Mr. Saini and Pandey.
I find it again very difficult. You are putting me in the end. After Narendra and Dhaval, they have covered everything. So I will have to struggle. I will have to make something very good.
Why is she taking some revenge? No, sir, this is the first time we are meeting. पिछले जन्म का बदला नहीं है ये.
What I see that if speaking about adoption is something which we all tech leaders struggle with. And if I speak to an Ashish Pandey 3-4 years ago, I will say just give it to them, let them struggle, they will figure it out. But my viewpoint has changed when I keep interacting with people and everyone, right? What I see that there is so much emphasis being given on making it extremely simple, making the UI which is easily discoverable. You can do it on your own. You can learn it on your own. So I think the onus is on us that how we can make things so simple that people are so eager to use it. My mother, my father, they are using Facebook, they are using WhatsApp, they have got accustomed to touchscreen because of the simplicity which it has brought. So that is something which we have to do. Right now, I see that we are somewhere in crawl and run space, crawl and walk space. We have to ensure that how we can make people run, right? So it's with us.
Fantastic answer, Mr. Pandey. And I'd just like to add, I think because of the simplicity of using all our Rishadar, Chache, Mami, Thai, uncle, aunties, the relatives that we want to ignore are on Facebook sending them requests.
No, that's why younger generation is moving to Insta, right? That I don't want my mother to see my pics.
Well, give it 3 months. Matashri will also join. I'm pretty sure about that. Fantastic, gentlemen. A big round of applause to you, and I would request you to kindly clap for yourself along with me.
Thanks a lot, Nikita. Thanks, Narendra, Dhaval. Fantastic with you.
Thanks.
Likewise. Thanks a lot.
Our amazing audience members, mark our words. On screen, you see revolutionaries who are going to change the Indian pharma sector. I am not talking about myself. Please ignore me. The remaining 3 gentlemen, right? They are going to change the face of Indian pharma. Big round of applause. Once again, fantastic session. Thank you so much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Nikita. You're so wonderful. Thank you.